Welcome back to our channel, where we dive deep into the most unbelievable, unexpected, and emotionally charged talent show stories from around the world. If you love powerful performances, jaw-dropping surprises, and stories that stay with you long after the screen goes dark, then you're in the perfect place. Make sure you stick around to the end, because today's story is something that no viewer, judge, or audience member has ever forgotten. It's the story of a girl who stepped onto the stage in silence, but left millions speechless. The camera transitions to a foggy backstage hallway. Staff members shuffle around, contestants rehearse nervously, and soft echoes of applause seep through the walls from the stage. Among the crowd of hopeful performers stands a young woman in a simple, worn-out gray dress. She holds nothing in her hands. She has no microphone, no prop, no instrument, no companions, just herself. Her presence alone is strange, almost serene, like someone stepping into a temple rather than a talent competition. Her name, as the crew's clipboard reads, is Elina. Elina doesn't talk. Not because she refuses to, but because she can't. For reasons the producers didn't fully explain in her introduction package, she has lived nearly her entire life without speaking a single word. Some say it was from birth. Others say it came after a traumatic event in her childhood. But the truth is unknown. What is known, however, is that she communicates through silence in a way that somehow feels louder than most people do with their voices. Her turn arrives. A stagehand waves toward her gently. Elina nods politely, takes a slow breath, and begins walking toward the glowing entrance leading to the stage. The host whispers into his mic, unsure of what the audience should expect. The judges exchange confused glances. The lights sweep across the arena. Confusion is in the air because talent shows are built on noise. Singing, dancing, comedy, acrobats, musicians. But silence. No one knows what to make of it. The audience begins whispering as she steps out. A spotlight drops onto her like a moonbeam. She looks so small beneath it, so fragile, yet so strangely powerful, like she carries entire worlds behind her calm eyes. The judges smile out of courtesy. They have no idea what she plans to do. One judge leans forward, pressing his elbows onto the desk, his eyebrows furrowing. They wait for her introduction. They wait for her to explain what her talent is. They wait for anything. But Elina says nothing. The studio falls into an uncomfortable silence. The judges exchange glances again. A woman in the front row folds her arms, confused. A group of teenagers laugh softly, thinking this is some kind of joke audition. The producers backstage stare at their monitors, unsure if they should intervene. But Elina simply stands still, breathing slowly, like she's waiting for the room to settle. Then, she lifts her hand. The music shuts off entirely. The entire studio becomes dead silent. Even the ventilation system seems to hold its breath. With that single movement, Elina begins her performance. Not with words. Not with dance. Not with a dramatic song. Instead, she begins a form of expression that is almost impossible to categorize. Her hands move through the air like paintbrushes. Her body shifts gently, telling a story with gestures, with pauses, with the slightest tremors. It isn't mime, though some might mistake it as such. It isn't acting, though every movement conveys emotion. It isn't sign language, though it's full of meaning. It's something entirely its own, a form of storytelling through motion and stillness. Her face, calm and focused, becomes a canvas for emotions that seem to flow out of her without effort. She conveys fear, joy, pain, longing, hope, and heartbreak through micro-expressions so subtle that the camera operators instinctively zoom in, unsure how she's doing it. Her eyes shift from sorrow to laughter in seconds. Her fingertips tremble like leaves in the wind. Her breathing becomes part of the performance, soft but controlled. One judge whispers, "She's telling a story." Another adds, "But how? What kind of performance is this?" The audience slowly falls silent, realizing something extraordinary is happening. The whispers fade. The shuffling stops. You could hear a pin drop in the huge auditorium. On stage, Elina begins to move more boldly. She takes a step forward, then another. Her movements form a pattern, almost like a poem without letters. Every gesture feels intentional. She is not dancing to music but to something deeper. Her own internal rhythm, a rhythm shaped by a life lived in quiet. Through her movements, she begins to depict her story. A childhood memory. Loneliness. Loss. A moment of great pain. The recovery afterward. The world that misunderstood her. The silence people assumed was emptiness, when in reality it was overflowing with emotions she simply couldn't voice. Her hands fold together, then break apart dramatically, like something shattering. Her face twists in emotional agony. The audience feels it, a collective gasp moves through the seats. Then she brings her hands back together, slowly, like rebuilding something fragile. A few audience members are already crying. The camera cuts to the judges. One judge has her hand over her mouth, stunned. Another stares with wide eyes, completely captivated. The lead judge whispers softly, "This is unbelievable." Elina's silent story continues, becoming more powerful by the second. She portrays fear with sharp, trembling movements. Hope with slow, upward gestures. Love with gentle touches over her heart. Isolation with stiff, distant posture. And then, at the climax of her performance, she portrays breaking free, stepping toward the edge of the stage, reaching out, as if inviting the entire world into her once isolated universe. The moment is electric. The audience rises, not in applause, but because they can't stay seated. It's instinctual. Something inside them is compelled to stand, as though witnessing a moment bigger than entertainment. A moment that feels holy. The arena is still silent. No music plays. Elina looks up toward the lights, her eyes glassy with emotion. Her breathing slows. And then, just like that, she stops. The silence becomes a thunderclap. The audience erupts into applause, cheers, whistles, tears, standing ovations from every section. Some people are crying openly, hands over their hearts. The judges stand instantly, no hesitation, no deliberation. One judge wipes tears from her eyes, shaking her head like she can't believe what she just witnessed. Another judge claps with both hands above his head, overwhelmed. The lead judge leans toward his microphone and speaks with a trembling voice, saying, "I have never seen anything like that. You didn't say a single word, but I felt every single one." The other judges agree, each giving emotional feedback. One judge says that Elina reminded everyone that communication is not just words, but emotion, raw, real, unfiltered emotion. Another says her performance was like listening to a song without hearing a sound. Another compares it to reading a diary written without ink. When the time comes for the vote, the judges don't hesitate. One judge says yes. The next says yes. The third judge says yes. And the fourth, emotional and overwhelmed, slams the golden buzzer. The crowd explodes. Golden confetti rains down on Elina as she stands in near disbelief. She doesn't jump or scream. She simply closes her eyes, raises her hands slowly, and lets the confetti fall around her, like soft rain after a long drought. The judges rush to the stage. The host runs out, embracing her gently. The audience chants her name. The moment becomes one of the most replayed in the show's entire history. Backstage, Elina sits in a quiet corner, still covered in flecks of gold. The host kneels beside her, trying to interview her but knowing she won't answer with words. Instead, she smiles softly, touches her hand to her heart, then gestures outward, as if giving her gratitude to the entire world. The video of her performance goes viral overnight. Millions of views in hours. People across the globe share it, describing it as mesmerizing, healing, breathtaking, and unforgettable. Some say they cried without understanding why. Others say that her silence felt louder than any song. Many viewers who struggle with speech or communication say they felt represented for the first time. Elina becomes a symbol, not of disability, but of powerful expression beyond language. She inspires countless people to rethink what communication truly is. Teachers show the video in classrooms. Therapists show it to clients. Dancers and artists break down her movements to understand the emotional technique behind them. And Bulgaria's Got Talent releases an official statement saying it was one of the most emotional performances in the show's history. Weeks later, she returns for the semi-finals. The audience welcomes her with roaring applause. Her second performance builds on her first, this time portraying hope, healing, and human connection. Once again, she doesn't speak. She doesn't need to. Her silence becomes her signature. Her movements become her message. In her final performance, she tells a story of rising above limitations. A story of surviving hardship. A story of finding strength in silence. When she completes her final gesture and the stage lights fade, an emotional hush falls over the audience again, the kind that only Elina can create. Then the applause erupts once more, louder than ever. She doesn't win the season, but she wins something far bigger, the love and admiration of millions. Her legacy becomes a lasting reminder that talent isn't always loud, flashy, or obvious. Sometimes, the greatest talent is the ability to make people feel deeply without saying a word. As we wrap up today's story, remember this: the human soul speaks in many languages, and silence is one of the loudest. Elina taught the world that you don't need a voice to be heard. You just need courage, emotion, and the willingness to share your truth, even if it's spoken in a different way than everyone expects. If you felt something today, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and share this story with someone who needs a reminder that silence can be powerful, expressive, and beautiful. And stay tuned, because we have many more incredible talent show journeys coming your way.